And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death.
Worry about my posse getting jumped. Cause if we ever do, yo, TB, pop the trunk. Cause we make a pop the trunk and hit the switch.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Give me your boom, boom, boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Duff?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in. Center stage on the mic.
And we putting it on wax. It's the new stuff.
Together, we are Jalen and Jacoby. What do?
We get the people.
Yes. Are you okay? Are you okay?
What they want.
You're going to pass out one day, Jalen Rose. I'm so excited for this show. There is so much to discuss. The number one thing to discuss, Jalen Rose, it finally happened. Jimmy Butler, no longer on the Minnesota Timberwolves. He wasn't traded to the Clippers. He wasn't traded to the Heat. In a surprise twist, he was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers traded him for Covington, Saric, and a future second-round pick. Jalen Rose, how does Jimmy Butler change the Sixers?
A few ways. The Philadelphia 76ers now are a legitimate Eastern Conference contender by adding Jimmy Butler. They're not the favorite, however, but it gets them closer. When you don't draft well, yes, they hit home runs with Embiid and Simmons. But let's not forget, they also took Michael Carter-Williams, Okafor.
Just say his name.
Markelle Fultz.
Markelle Fultz.
Okay, and when you lose in the asset department and then you not only draft Markelle, but you gave up a first-round pick to get him, it hampers what you can do going forward versus a team in your same conference in the Boston Celtics that have drafted well and created assets. So as I watch Philadelphia, they got 3 of the best 6 players in the East.
Let me think about that.
Just think about it. And I'm speaking, and the other guys in the conversation are Kyrie, Greek Freak, and Kawhi. They got 3 of the best 6 players in the East. But you know what I love about basketball? That still don't make them the favorite.
Nope.
Why is that? They've got a legitimate big 3.
They got a legitimate big 3. Probably only the Golden State Warriors can boast that.
We talked about this before the show. I think there are only 2 big 3s in basketball right now. And there's only 2 legitimate big 3s.
And that's fair to say. So now Philadelphia has catapulted themselves not only back in the contention conversation, but also the conversation of next big team that's going to get people to come play with them conversation.
Oh, I like this angle.
No doubt about it. Because now when you look at Ben Simmons, who's unselfish, and a point guard at 6'10", and Joel Embiid, who's going to get me 20 and 10 and a couple of blocks and make threes, and Jimmy Butler is a lockdown defender that's going to also be clutch and give me 20-plus points, players are not going to want to play with them.
So here's the thing, though. First, Jimmy Butler has to convince the Sixers that the Sixers want to play with him. You know what I mean? So what's happening now is he's a free agent at the end of this year. He has a history of having, I wouldn't say trouble, but having concerns about some of his young teammates and voicing those concerns. He has a history of being just not the warmest, friendliest fella in the locker room. So the Sixers can give him the max at the end of this year. And it is expected that they gave away Saric and Covington because they plan to do so. Is he going to be on his best behavior? Is Jimmy Butler going to, I don't know, maybe swallow some of his real thoughts about his young teammates so he can get the max? I have the feeling that at the end of this year, he's going to sign the deal. And he's going to tell everybody what he thinks about him. That's how this is going to go. He's going to sign the deal. He's going to be like, come here, Joel Embiid. I'm deleting your Twitter account. No more Shirley Tables for you. Ben Simmons, you got to get in the gym. You got to get a jump shot the second he signs the contract. I mean, I see it playing out like that. Like this is like an audition year for him, and he's going to be on his best behavior.
And shout out to Elton Brand, who got this deal done so early in his first year as the GM. I understand what you mean about Butler, but look at it like this. Embiid and Simmons are better than Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins.
Oh, no question about it.
Okay,
no one's gonna refute that.
And he gets to play with them in the East.
I know.
That's the conference that doesn't have the Golden State Warriors, which has you look on a piece of paper and say, okay, the Celtics are legit. The Raptors are legit. The Bucks are playing well. But now they're legitimately a part of that conversation. Now, just like any team, this is what I love about the game. They have weaknesses.
Oh, yeah. They gave away 2 of their shooters, and, they got Jimmy Butler back, but they need a shooter.
Yes. I don't think they're done tinkering with their team, and I got a wild card here. Well, 2. Number 1, J.J. Redick is going to start to play better, get more minutes, and definitely deserves to be in the starting lineup. But when they're trying to feature guys. So clearly they were featuring Saric, featuring Covington, and trying to feature Fultz, but they realized they're stuck with him.
No one's taking Fultz.
But here's a wild card.
They could have added Fultz to that trade in Minnesota and be like, no, we're good. Don't worry about it.
Wilson Chandler. It's going to be a wild card that nobody talks about in this dynamic. They're going to be able to put 4 players on the floor that can switch everything with J.J. Redick. That's what I anticipate happening. When things get tough for Philadelphia and or it's crunch time, their best lineup on paper already for me, J.J. Redick, Simmons, Embiid, Butler, Wilson, Chandler.
Interesting.
He's going to play well with them. He hasn't really gotten the opportunity, dealt with some injuries earlier in the year. I think he's going to now elevate his game and be a rotation player.
Do you think that they add another shooter? You said they're not done tinkering with the lineup because J.J. Redick, knockdown shooter. And obviously, Jimmy Butler can shoot threes. Ben Simmons, not a shooter, literally doesn't shoot threes.
So here's my hate-love for the league as a player that was once bought out. When Tyson Chandler's still in uniform for Phoenix and we already know he's going to L.A.
Oh, yeah.
So what's going to happen is what's happening with Kyle Korver. Start to look at all of the teams that are struggling, that have veterans with not so favorable deals to the team. Those guys now become buyout candidates. And so there will be people, there will be shooters, there will be opportunities to fill your roster if you're the Philadelphia 76ers.
And again, big shout to Elton Brand. There's nothing he's just getting the office set up, putting things on the wall in his office, and he's already got a big win. It's a great way to start at that new position. So let's now move the conversation away from the Sixers to the Eastern Conference as a whole.
Now I'm going to show you how the East Coast rock.
I had the Sixers as the 4th team in the Eastern Conference, and that changes now. How do you have the pecking order of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference? My condolences to all Pacers fans and Wizards.
A blank canvas. I still have to say the Boston Celtics because I did see them make it to the conference finals without Kyrie Irving last year, and he's back.
Okay.
Gordon Hayward's still struggling. The Toronto Raptors
look great.
Kyle Lowry has improved his playmaking, getting me double-figure assists
Everything
now.
I ever said about Kyle Lowry was wrong.
And obviously they have Kawhi Leonard. The Sixers are 3rd based on what we just discussed. And don't dismiss the Milwaukee Bucks. They probably have the best player not only in the conference, but a front runner, gonna be one of the top players as it relates to all NBA consideration.
Of course.
In the Greek Freak, I appreciate how Lopez has reinvented himself as a player that you would post
really
up,
shoot threes.
that can now really shoot threes,
as we saw over the weekend. And quietly, no one talks about this. Malcolm Brogdon has really improved from last year.
Yes.
Malcolm Brogdon has been playing really well this year, and obviously Chris Middleton is having a little breakout year, going to be an all-star.
Absolutely. So those are the teams. Indiana's going to be in the conversation beyond that, but those are the top 4 teams in the conference.
So when I look at this, I just think, are the 76ers going to give Jimmy Butler this deal? Because I think, for now, it's not. When you see Paul George in a contract year, is he going to stay? Is Anthony Davis going to stay? What's going to happen with KD? Those are kind of obvious questions, but this one's a little different. It's are the Sixers going to want to give him 5 years, $190 million? Do you think that's a done deal?
I'm going to give you a different way to look at it. Yes is the answer to that question.
Okay.
Because of what I said to begin this conversation. They're in the same conference as the Boston Celtics, who, when you look at their roster, they're set now. When you look at their assets, they're set for the future.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to be able to continue to have what it takes to bring in other great players that they see have potential to build on what they've done. So if you're going to be in a conference with them, you got to now go after the best players. And so that's what Philly's able to do. We have Simmons, we have Embiid, we have Butler. We have 3 of the top 6 players in this conference. That makes us a legitimate contender. Now, building out the roster, supplementing your weaknesses, getting shooters, all of that type of thing is going to come with it. But you definitely pay Butler because you already paid Covington $70. You traded him. You wasn't going to give a big deal ultimately to Saric. So you save that money and you give it to Jimmy Butler. And that's what Minnesota was thinking. Now, I don't think Minnesota did good in this trade, but let me tell you this. What they were thinking was, we're not a destination spot for free agents.
No.
So I want to get a guy that's already under contract.
Covington.
In Covington. That's a 3-and-D guy.
He's a prototypical 2018 NBA role player. Like,
no
he's
question.
Exactly what you want right now in the NBA. You're not going to have 5 stars to be your starting 5. I love Covington as your 4th best player in your 5.
And he's Tibbs kind of guy. Self-made like Jimmy Butler was. Came out of the D-League. And then Saric is a big that can shoot threes and stretch the floor. You put him alongside Karl Anthony Towns. He's still on a rookie deal. I have assets as the coach. That's also the GM that can put players out there, and Minnesota's actually going to be better.
What?
You think so?
Have you seen Minnesota play this season?
I've seen him play with Jimmy Butler.
Okay. They're going to be better without Butler.
What?
These guys are going to give you more points. They're going to give you more 3-pointers, and they're going to give you the opportunity to allow Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins to flourish who they want to build a team around.
What did Karl Anthony Towns text Andrew Wiggins when he found out that Jimmy Butler was officially traded?
He's like, you still getting the max? I'm still getting the max? He gone? Cool.
So much to discuss today. I love putting the show together on days like today. Jimmy Butler,
nice
Carmelo
like this.
Anthony, Patriots lost.
Nice
Saints
like
are
this.
great. Where my homies. So much happening. Zion.
Like this.
I was watching Zion over the football games on
wish
Sunday.
Raindrops would fall.
I don't know that song.
What?
You don't know that one? 5 Heartbeats. Classic.
Yeah.
We need to get you on Spotify doing some DJ Motown Clown playlists for J&J.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
We used to do that with the radio show.
Let's
when
do
you
it.
got to pick the music for the radio show,
That'd be
get
fun.
to really get to the show your range, your musical range.
Would love to.
I remember I was in charge of the music on the radio show for a little bit.
And tell the people what happened to that like 4 or 5 years ago.
I think we had like a Rolling Stones Day.
How about that?
Rolling Stones Day.
Do y'all hear the artist he just said?
Rolling Stones
He said
Day.
Limp Bizkit, and then he said
No, it
Rolling
wasn't-
Stones.
No, I think Limp Bizkit, I snuck that past you, but Rolling Stones Day is when you and Reggie started texting behind my back. For good reason, though. For good reason.
Like, Jacoby has enough responsibility.
And honestly, to be honest, I was like, oh, this ain't going to last because he can't prepare for every single show. But guess what? Shout to you, Jalen Rose. Every single show, you and Reggie, whether you were 0% or 100% invested in it, got the job done. Big shout to my family who's here. You know, we're gonna get into everything in a second, but big shout to my family.
I know we joke a lot on this program, and that's what family members, teammates do. But you have a beautiful family.
Very proud of them.
I'm glad they're here today,
Me too. Veterans Day, day off school.
and I'm determined to get them on the show.
I know you are somehow, some way. I told Harlan earlier. I talked to Harlan. I was like, Jalen's gonna try to do this thing. He's gonna see my kids. He's gonna try to drag them on the show somehow.
We got to get them on the show.
Okay. Maybe.
Kids love our program. Okay. You have kids that can offer great insight into what it's like to be their age, what they're watching on TV, the music that they like. Come here, Q.
Hold on.
Come here, Q.
We'll do it as an outro for the TV show.
Okay, cool.
We'll do it. We'll tape a little special outro.
No, I'm going to get Q on wax a little bit. You knew I was going to do this.
I know you're gonna do this. I don't want this.
I know. That's why it's different.
All right.
That's why I'm
We
an
have a
uncle.
Non-consensual guest.
Yes. Come on, Q.
We have some non-consensual guests.
Yeah, come on, ladies. Come on, y'all.
All right. All right.
Yes.
Quincy,
Yes.
what do you think about
Yes.
the Jimmy Butler trade?
Q, what are you watching on TV these days? What is some of the television?
Squad.
Really? What happens on our squad? You can come over here with me
They
if you want.
solve mysteries like if there's this green octopus figure that's trying to destroy their headquarters, and then and their brothers and sisters, and the sister one doesn't like gooey things, and the brother one doesn't like yellow things. So they made egg yolks, and then they shooted the egg yolks at the brother and sister things, and then they ate them, and then the baby ate it, scared them away because he had growing power.
Wow, that's better than I could do any movie
There you
review
go.
ever.
There you go. What do you think about Jalen and Jacoby, Q? Any notes for the show? Ways it could be better?
could hang the baby shoes on the roof.
Oh, okay.
That's a good
we'll
one.
hang the baby shoes on the roof. I want to thank you for joining us, Quincy, Margot, and Chloe.
Thank you, guys.
Margot,
Yay! Anything y'all want to add?
You want to add?
There's astronauts that feel the astronauts. There's an octopus and a sea monster, and there's
Octopus, the sea monster.
and the sea monster in the water, and the opposite Nathan, and
This is my favorite podcast of all
movie.
time.
Favorite.
Please don't edit this.
There's my cat.
All right, cool.
Dog.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank y'all. Yay!
Congrats on the kids.
Thank
You
you.
happy now, Jalen?
Yes, thank y'all.
All right, let's give the people
Thank
what
you.
they want.
Getting knocked down on the football field makes you tough. But getting back up makes you tougher. At Goodyear, we call that determination. A willingness to put in more hours, more reps, and more heart to reach a bar that's sky high. Because the Goodyear blimp doesn't show up for just anybody. So don't be just anybody. Be blimp-worthy. Goodyear, more driven.
Jalen Rose, it was a very interesting weekend in the NFL. The most shocking result. And I kept waiting for the Patriots to come back against the Titans. I just kept waiting for it to happen. They were down a couple scores. And this wasn't just the Patriots losing to the Titans. The Patriots kind of got whooped by the Titans. Right here, you see Marcus Mariota rolling to his right, hooking up a nice pass. They kind of did whatever they wanted on offense against the Patriots defense, and the Patriots had trouble moving the ball and scoring. Jalen, what did you see from this result?
Who are the two perennial all-pro players that play for different teams that are really successful and really famous that I've come on this program and said that their respective teams should trade them years ago?
Gronk and
Odell Beckham. Gronk wasn't playing yesterday.
Hasn't really played well all season.
And if you ain't been paying attention, he missed a game or so ago too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's accomplished so very much. But injuries catch up to you. And that's what I see when I'm talking about the Patriots. Gronk isn't the performer that he used to be. And that's Tom's security blanket. He's one of the best to do it. Now, if somebody ever said into a microphone that Josh Gordon was going to be Randy Moss, you should pull those clips up and that person should wipe their mouth out with soap. Okay? There were people saying that, right? Josh Gordon is going to be
it's the deep threat the Patriots
Randy
need.
Moss.
Yeah. They hasn't had a weapon like this since Randy Moss. I've watched the Patriots games. He's been fine.
Well, I'll take Brandon Cooks over Gordon. So that illustration was off anyway.
And again, like you're talking about some of the personnel moves that the Patriots have and haven't made, which has been interesting. But you know who this isn't lost upon? A gentleman by the name of Dion Lewis.
Shouldn't be.
Because he was playing on the Titans, and previously he was playing on the Patriots, and he noticed that the Patriots were frugal. He had something to say about it after the game.
Yeah, it's a real sweet win. You know, especially when you used to be there and they didn't want to bring you back. So definitely real sweet. I'm happy my teammates came out and played, and I love these guys.
So it is a little personal.
Hell yeah, it's personal. That's what happens when you go cheap. You get your ass kicked.
Oh, tell me how you really feel, Mr. Lewis. Do you think that this was personal for Vrabel, who was, coach for the Patriots, and Lewis, who was a running back for the Patriots?
So it's always personal when you're playing against your former team. But here's the distinction. Upon which way your exit began. Did you upgrade or were you released? In all of these cases, John Robinson, their GM, he was never going to be that New England because that's Bill Belichick's job.
Yep.
Mike Vrabel definitely wasn't going to be the head coach.
No.
Okay.
Maybe 2035 if he stuck around.
And he played for him. And then he coached under Bill O'Brien in Houston. So he navigated around the Patriot coaching tree. Malcolm Butler, who's been benched this year because of his performance at different times, got a $30 million guaranteed contract. Patriots didn't even play him in the Super Bowl. Okay? And Dion Lewis, who is a terrific young back, who did well with Henry yesterday, change of pace backs type of thing. but they drafted Sony Michel this past season, who only had 31 yards rushing. So when you're going against that former squad, of course there's going to be a little animosity. You feel in a certain type of way type of thing. But all of these people came up because of the Patriot way.
It's a good point. Moving on to another game, another big game yesterday. The last time the Seahawks and the Rams played, it came down to the final seconds. They played again on Sunday, and guess what? Came down to the final seconds. The Rams look good. You know, they were moving the ball, as you see here. And at the end, they had a nice, comfortable lead that kind of disappeared. Right now, you see them, look at the time. There's 5:50 left, and they're up by a couple scores. And then it came down, the Seahawks scored a touchdown. They're moving the ball. It's looking like maybe this is going to be some Russell Wilson magic. They have 4th and 10, and Russell kind of floats it over the receiver's head, and the Rams win the game. Jalen Rose. The Rams lost to the Saints last week. They had another good win this week. How do you feel about this bounce-back win for the Rams?
It's a quality win. You look at it on paper and be like, oh, they should beat Seattle. But the one thing that stood out to me is while they have Aaron Donald on the defensive line and Ndamukong Suh, and they just brought in Fowler, who's going to be able to rush the quarterback, they struggle against the run. They were getting gouged by Seattle. And as the weather starts to change, a team that plays in Los Angeles is going to be going against teams that play outside, possibly in the playoffs. That's got to be something that they shore up. Eventually, they're going to get to lead back. But on the offensive side, Todd Gurley, 3-down back. You know how much I love that.
You love Todd Gurley.
No doubt about it. And then they employ their weapons with Cook, getting them involved when they need to, getting them his touches so that he can be successful. Same with Woods. Kupp got injured during the game. Like, they're explosive, but how Jared Goff has continued to mature as a quarterback is really taking this team to a whole nother stratosphere.
Any win is a good win. The way that the Seahawks were able to move the ball and get kind of, a score on them and kind of push them at the end of the game was a little concerning. But look, the Rams might not have to play anybody outside in the playoffs. They're going to have a better record than most people, and the only team in the NFC that's going to have a better record than them are the Saints.
They play in the
Dome. So maybe that won't be so much concern as we get down the season.
Don't sleep on teams like the Bears.
I'm sleeping on the Bears.
But here's the thing. I guess you don't have to worry about it when you have home field advantage.
Exactly. So they'll be playing warm playoff games. Moving on to the Cowboys. We'll see if they'll be playing a playoff game. The Cowboys just always seem to be talked about so much. Everybody loves to talk about the Cowboys. And they had a big Sunday night matchup, division game against the Eagles. And you're making that hand gesture because do you remember when they were criticized for 6 touches in the second half for Ezekiel Elliott? Ezekiel Elliott had no trouble getting touches in this game and had no trouble getting yards. Is the Cowboys season rejuvenated by this performance against the division rival Eagles?
I want to be a gentleman at this network because they get bashed so very often, but yet we still try to talk about the Cowboys because they rate, to give them credit in 2 departments.
Okay.
Shout to Jason Garrett. Let me say that again.
Wait, what?
Shout to Jason Garrett.
What? Wait, Jason Garrett?
Let me tell you something. The hardest thing to do is to get your football team or any team to play and consistently compete when everybody's against them, when everybody's counting them out and they're in a situation where people feel like they're going to go to Philly, get thumped, and everybody's going to pile on.
Yeah, I was ready to do it.
Okay, everybody was ready.
I was ready to do it.
So that's the hardest time when things are most difficult to get your team's spirit up to go out and perform. Okay? And they thumped Philly, the defending Super Bowl champions that play in their division. So for him to get that football team to perform the way it did, of course, when Ezekiel Elliott's rushes for 150 yards. It just felt
like it was 11 yards every time he touched the ball last
night. No doubt about it. But again, what that allows is playing ball control. I've been saying this for years. Like, the Dallas Cowboys defense has improved, and it's really good on third down. People have been paying attention to that. But when they're controlling the ball with the run, having Dak play RPOs, doing jet sweeps, doing short passes, now all of a sudden the defense gets a chance to rest over there with the Gatorade. Then when they get out on the field, they're more effective. That's what they've been able to do. That's the formula of success that they used a couple of seasons ago when they were playing a lot better.
Can you just give Jason Garrett another shout? I feel like he needs it.
Shout to Jason Garrett.
Shout out.
Because teams like...
He needs it.
How about this? When I look at a team like the Giants, on paper, we'll be like, They got more talent than Washington. They got more talent than the Giants.
Offense, the skill positions, of course.
So what's the difference between the talent and the productivity? Usually it's the coaching and a quarterback.
And line. The
and
line
an offensive line.
Important. Yep.
And an offensive line.
Of course. Well, this is something that's coming to a resolution in the National Football League.
We got a resolution?
We got a resolution in the National Football League. Le'Veon Bell. All reports are that he is not going to report to the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. Which means Le'Veon Bell will not play professional football this entire season long. I do not think this was the plan all along for Le'Veon Bell. I think Le'Veon Bell was, I'm just going to hold out for a little bit, then they're going to finally, come around and give me a big contract. That never happened. I'm going to hold out for a couple games, and they're going to finally realize that they can't win without me, and then they're going to get a big contract. That didn't happen. And then it was, but I'll just report at the end to make sure that I get some bread this year. That didn't happen. What will happen now with Le'Veon Bell?
I'll give you 4 reasons why it didn't go initially the way it was planned.
Oh, okay.
Look no further than the leadership, Mike Tomlin, who came out and said, we want participants, not hostages.
Volunteers, not hostages. Yep.
Never good.
I was confused by that, but we can move on.
Number 2, it's one thing to be criticized from the locker room. It's another thing when they offensive linemen.
Yeah.
When Foster and Pouncey are speaking, who happen to be leaders on the team, that's never good. You ready for the other domino? James Conner put up more yards and more touchdowns in the same period of time than you did.
So you're telling me I can get the same production, much cheaper without the headache? Okay. Enjoy Miami, Le'Veon.
And so when you leave and tweet by Miami, I felt like that was going to be him going back to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I think the Steelers did too. Why else would you even tweet that?
Because he's back in Pittsburgh.
And then he went to Pittsburgh and he was playing pickup basketball. I'm like, that's an odd decision. What's he even doing in Pittsburgh if he's not going to report?
That's why I'm validating and supporting what you said. Like the plan seemed to continue to change because he probably wouldn't have left Miami to go to Pittsburgh if the goal wasn't to be a Steeler.
Pittsburgh, underrated fun city. Shout to Pittsburgh.
Shout out.
Not Miami, though, if you're just spending time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Miami if you're just spending time. Underrated fun city.
Now, however, this will all be water under the bridge over the next few months when we pick up a newspaper and see said team gave Le'Veon Bell X amount of years and X amount of millions to play football with them next year.
It's going to happen for you, Le'Veon. He's probably like, what I'm not going to do this year? Get injured.
But guess what he is going to do? Get more guaranteed money next year than he would have gotten this year.
That's a great point, Jalen Rose. You know what? Things don't look great for him now, but something tells me when he signs that contract, he'll be back in Miami and things will fix. The college football season is starting to clarify itself. We know who the top 4 teams are. We know that some teams control their own destinies. They just have to win out. We know what needs to happen for the other teams to leap into those top 4 teams and make the playoffs. It's getting really interesting. And right now you can see as we get deep into the season just who's put the work in and who hasn't. Who's put the hours in the offseason? Who's done the hours in the film room? Who's really prepared in these games and who's not prepared? Who's physically and mentally ready to play? You have to put the work in. The harder you work, the further you go. Do you know who else knows that? Do you know who else puts the hours in? Do you know who else studies the science? Goodyear Tires. Goodyear knows all about that kind of focus and preparation that you need to be successful. They put in the hard work to make sure that your tires are ready to go when you need them. Because when you're driving on the road, every single day is game day. So when it comes to choosing tires, go to Goodyear.com and let Goodyear help you choose the best way to help you go further too. Who knows how far your favorite college team is going to go, but you will go your furthest if you make the decision to put Goodyear tires on your car. Go to Goodyear.com. The Chiefs and the Cardinals. The Chiefs won. I'm not even going to wear my homies thing, but it was closer than everybody thought it was.
I got to give props to Larry Fitzgerald, second all-time in yards for a receiver. That's awesome. I wish he would have had the Cardinals trade him. I just hate to see him waste away his career. But this, again, is all about the explosiveness of the Kansas City Chiefs. Yesterday, it was Hill's turn.
Yep. And then let's take a look at Hill's touchdown and especially the aftermath because that's something that I really enjoyed. He scored his touchdown. We'll see it right here with a nice pass from where my homies.
Where they at?
And then everyone's like, well, what's he doing? He grabs the camera and then films his teammates celebrating. First of all, not the greatest framing of the shot there, Mr. Hill.
I don't think he cares.
I don't think he's going to take the cameraman's job.
I don't think he cares.
What do you think about this? Do you think he deserved a penalty, and will he get a fine?
He deserved a penalty. He will get fined. He's going to laugh about it. It's well worth it. They're having a really good time living their best lives right now.
The Saints won a great game against the Rams last week. This time they were faced up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who've been up and down this year, but I didn't think the game was going to go like this. The Saints waxed the Bengals. They put up 51 points on the Bengals. Jalen Rose, are the Saints the best team in football?
They're playing like it.
They are.
I'll tell you, they're playing like it. I would still have to go with KC, probably, because I think they're going to get Eric Berry back. But, man, the Rams have so many weapons. Yesterday, Mark Ingram got a chance to get going. I was happy to see the Flint native carry for 100 yards. Kimura's still getting his numbers. Yep. The sky's the limit for their protection. Michael Thompson.
Don't look now, but the Cleveland Browns are hot. They fired everybody.
Is that Michael Thomas?
I don't know. They fired everybody, and they were playing against the Falcons. The Falcons who had a chance to turn their season around with this game, and they might have even just kind of like looked past the Browns a little bit because the Browns look good. The Browns hung up 28 points on them. The Falcons weren't really in this game. Jalen Rose, when Baker Mayfield was asked about his performance and how he felt pregame, here's what Mr. Mayfield had to say.
Do you know that in warm-ups, if you're going to have a day like that, like a starting pitcher or something?
No. Warm-ups, not really, but when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
I kind of love Mayfield. I love when I woke up in the morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous. Did you feel dangerous when you woke up this morning?
Every morning. That's the goal. However I'm feeling before I get out of the bed is one thing. When my feet hit that floor, danger! Danger! Get on the floor! Absolutely. I was going to correct you earlier, but I'm glad we go through every game for this exact reason. This was the worst loss, not the Patriots.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This was the worst loss.
That's a good point. Moving on to a team who is challenging the Patriots in the AFC. The Chargers beat up on the Raiders. The Raiders are just a mess. What do you think about this game?
I think that the Raiders have lost by 14 in like the last 5 or 6 games.
They're not even in games.
That has never happened.
They're not even in games.
In the history of that franchise.
It's hard to be John Gruden to get a 10-year deal, and this is year one. Like this is where we're going to do. After the game, he was talking about, well, we're going to work hard, and we're going to look at the film, we're going to prepare for next week because hard work is going to be the foundation of this franchise. Because it ain't players right now.
Once they lost Matt, and then obviously losing Cooper, but they're going to have some draft picks, I guess, next year.
The Packers beat the Dolphins. They dominated the Dolphins. The Packers are sneaky 4-1, and in the Lions division, anything can happen. Is the Packers season more hopeful or hopeless at this point?
We talked about it the last couple of weeks. Pull up the tape. What would unlock the Packers offense would be
running back Aaron Jones.
Like, they were doing this thing by committee, and I understand you're trying to get so many people involved. And coaches do this when they have a young, talented player. They feel like they don't want to give them too much too fast. Now, all of a sudden, Aaron Jones is running, giving them balance, had 2 touchdowns.
They got Aaron
Adams
Rodgers
had 2
back
touchdowns.
there, too. Aaron and Aaron connection.
No
it was
doubt
against
about
the Rams 2 weeks ago. It was like Aaron Jones should be their featured back. It was pretty clear at that point. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. The Lions had a game this weekend. And Mitchell Trubisky going into the game had never beaten a division opponent. So I was like, maybe they got that going for him. Jalen, the Lions looked awful. They looked awful against the Bears. Do you have any words or sounds you could make about this game?
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's not even talk about it. I can tell you're getting emotional. Let's not even talk about it. Moving on.
Thank you.
The Colts beat the Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 3-6, Jalen Rose. This is the team that went to the AFC Championship last year. Not only that, they led the Patriots in the AFC Championship. They were just a quarter away from the Super Bowl. What happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
The Jacksonville Jaguars don't have the level of autonomy to make mistakes offensively. They don't have, in today's game, what's considered a number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
They did get Leonard Fournette back, which gives you a level of balance, but they're not getting quality quarterback play from Blake Bortles, and I think that has affected the defense to a point where they're not performing to their capabilities.
Jalen.
And they're making Mr. Ramsey unhappy. And you know I don't like to see a Jalen upset.
I know you don't like to see a Jalen upset. I don't like to see a Jalen upset either, but I'm going to break my promise. We're not going to really talk about every single game. I'm just going to recognize that the Redskins beat the Bucks and the Bills wax the Jets.
When tracking the domestic dust bunny, you commonly find them hiding under wardrobes next to lost socks. Don't move too suddenly or they'll scurry off. What's utterly fascinating about the dust bunny is that although they are not actually sentient creatures, when they hear that Geico not only saves people money, but also has a 97% customer satisfaction rating, it's obvious to them you should switch. Because yes, switching to Geico is a no-brainer. Oh no, it's the dust bunny's only natural predator. Run along, dust bunnies, run along.
We always talk about when we were right about things, but I was wrong about something. I really thought Carmelo Anthony was going to be additive for the Houston Rockets. I thought he was going to be great for them offensively and hurt them a little bit defensively. Well, there's been a lot of conflicting reports over the weekend about what exactly is happening between Carmelo and the Houston Rockets, but one thing is very clear. It's not going well, and it really doesn't look like it's going to continue. There's been a lot of reports from inside and outside the organization that they will no longer be playing together. Carmelo Anthony has played his last game as a Houston Rocket. I have so many questions for you. But first, let's just listen to Chris Paul discuss it.
Melo has been great here. You know what I mean? That's like a brother to me. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's being said or whatnot, but Melo has been great, working hard every day. You know what I mean? So, man, Melo is a future Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? And that's me saying that, and that's knowing that. So,
what's going to happen next, Jalen?
So, anytime you hear former players or current players broach this topic, it's really sensitive.
Explain.
This is a really sensitive
This is sensitive?
topic. Yes, because in order to become a veteran, you have to reinvent yourself, which means changing. This is why some of your favorite artists that have been in the game for a really long time have had multiple nicknames. Look at Sean Carter. Look at Sean Combs. Like, these guys have so many different nicknames because they continue to reinvent themselves.
Does Carmelo need a nickname?
Players do this exact same thing. Now, everybody ages different. He was in the same draft class as LeBron James, who's still the best player on his team, and one of the best players, if not the best player in the game.
Okay.
Dwayne Wade, who played more years in college than both of them, who's in his final season and already acknowledged that he's going to retire.
Yep.
So right now, his career could go either way. Okay? When you go to OKC, he scoffed at the notion of coming off the bench.
That was a year
right
ago.
there
That was a year
was
ago.
a bad sign. You go into that season, career lows in so many different categories.
Yes. They get bounced in the first round.
You get bounced in the first round, I'm not going to be here anymore. You and the team agree that this is not a good look. They trade you to Atlanta. That's not going to happen. You land in Houston. The first thing we ask is what? Is he going to finally come off the bench for the first time in his career?
And anyone who's followed the NBA knows that Mike D'Antoni and Carmelo Anthony have a history.
Correct. And so when we're asking how he's going to adjust to coming off the bench, his answer was, I'm willing to do whatever it takes for the team as long as we're winning. That's the underlying part. I think a low moment happened, and I had the remote control in my hand, at Oklahoma City, when he was struggling, couldn't get a field goal. The only basket that he got credit for was actually a goaltend. He was unhappy after that game, clearly, like all of us would have been, but he was more distraught because you start to now think of your journey. I was in Denver. I got out of Denver. I went to New York. Thought me and Amari was going to be able to do work. I did put up numbers. I'm one of the best players in Knicks history, but I didn't get the goal accomplished. Then I go to OKC. We don't hit our mark. I ain't going to Atlanta. Not the way they look.
Well, that was never the plan. So what happens now? What team does he play for now? What's the next chapter in his journey? Because it's not over.
And so now when you end up in Houston, you're put in a position to be the scapegoat regardless. Here's why. We know they're not going to have the best record, which they had last year. We know they're not going to be better defensively. So when they take those steps back, you're one of the people that is going to get credited for that decline. So you got to be lighting it up on the offensive end. Chris Paul got suspended. That didn't help. James Harden got hurt. That didn't help. So now you're on the floor and you're not as effective as you would like to be. The coach sees it that you have a history with. So, the same coach that feels like you got him fired in New York.
Yeah, he did get him
that fired. Holds grudges. I know I played for Mike D'Antoni my final season. He holds grudges.
Do you think a little bit of this, not 100%, but not 0%, was Mike D'Antoni revenge?
I'm not saying that it was the plan. I'm saying this is how it plays out. They weren't going to have the best record. They weren't going to be as good defensively. The only thing Carmelo could do is come in and ball at whatever role he was given. If he's not doing that consistently, they can now look to him and be like, oh, that's what's different. We added Carmelo. So he's going to be the scapegoat in this situation. And now he's going to end up, in theory, playing for 5 teams.
Where's he going to end up?
In 3 seasons.
Quickly, can you name a team or a couple teams?
You got to ride. Hey, you got to ride the wave when you get a little bit older. Might as well see what Philly talking about.
You think Elton Brand's going to give him the veteran minimum to go out there and do what he did in Houston?
Go back to the East Coast where you're familiar. You don't have to be the best player, the second best player, the third best player. You don't have to be the best shooter.
This won't be the last time that we talk about where Carmelo Anthony's going to play next, because there'll be some rumors coming out in the next couple of days.
Or Miami with Dwayne Wade. Go full circle. He played with one of his brothers and Chris Paul in Houston. See if he can latch on to Miami. But that Miami gig is dressed in overalls. That's work.
That sounds like work.
So a lot of people like talking that South Beach talk. No, that ain't where they play.
Well, something tells me he won't end up in the purple and gold with LeBron either, because the Lakers, they've been quietly pretty good lately. They had Tyson Chandler. They've won 3 games in a row. They beat the Kings. And last night against the Hawks, it got a little close for comfort at the end here. You see LeBron trying to take the lead, and then, it goes to the line. He'll hit 1 of 2 at least, right, Jalen? I'll miss the first one. You never miss the second one. You just make the adjustments. And then, Kyle Kuzma's working hard on the offensive rebounds on that free throw. You know why? He knows it might not go in. And then we get LeBron James dunking. Of course, they had a chance to win. And the new addition to the team, Tyson Chandler, gets the block. Jalen, big win for the Lakers. What do you think?
Shout out to Tyson Chandler, a California kid, getting a chance to play in purple and gold and be an impact player versus being in Phoenix where he was irrelevant regardless of what the stats he was putting up the last couple of seasons. And he filled the weakness that they needed. Another big besides JaVale McGee that could block shots, rebound the basketball, and be a force down low. However, when LeBron James has the ball with less than 2 minutes to go and the game's undecided, I'm following him. I've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 years. You got the best player in basketball. If you allow him
can't believe we've gotten here.
If you going to allow him to cross half court and put you on your heels and initiate his offense and be a playmaker and or a finisher and close your team out, that's on you. I would put him on the free throw line, distort their timing, distort their offense, and force them to now make a decision.
LeBron
on who's going to initiate the offense.
has been statistically, objectively pretty awful from the line and from 3 at the end of the games. We actually had LeBron James was asked about this, and here's what he had to say about his late game free throw shooting.
I'm garbage.
Oh, I'm sorry. And when someone asked him also about his late game 3-point shooting, let's hear what he had to say.
I'm garbage.
And then someone asked him about his performance in Trainwreck. And this is what he had to say.
I'm garbage.
I'm lying on the last one. But for real, I can't believe we're at a point where the best player on the planet, the strategy is to foul him and put him on the line.
I'm garbage.
I've said this for the last 2 seasons, in particular in the postseason. And that's paying homage to him.
I'm garbage.
That's paying the percentage. That's saying, I know once you cross half court, you're going to get a bucket,
or get somebody
or you're going to initiate somebody a bucket. Yeah. So I'd rather you be where I can see you. At the free throw line.
I'm garbage.
It is in a way the ultimate compliment. It sounds disrespectful, but it's the ultimate compliment to his game.
I'm garbage.
The Duke basketball game and the NFL games all started at the same time. What was I watching? Zion!
ESPN.
Oh, my God. Coming into the season, we knew he was a great dunker. We knew he was a great leaper, a great athlete. But he does so much more than that. Watching this game, the rebounds, the effort. He had 6 blocks, 16 rebounds. He had 21 points, not in the game, at the end of the first half. What? Jalen, I'm 100% sold, not just on Zion, but on this entire freshman class. What have you seen from them in these first 2 games?
Zion is a lion, king of the jungle. But I tell you, my takeaway from the game, other than the obvious, Army's kind of good.
Army, they were down like 6 at the half.
Army was kind of good.
They were in the game a little bit.
They balled. I want to give props to them.
Shout to them.
And shout to all of the veterans. My brother actually was in the Army. With that being said,
shout out.
The thing I appreciate about Zion, besides his personality and his just on-court generalship, like I watch for that in players. He's unselfish. He has a big team personality, and he tries to affect the game in all facets.
Oh, yeah. He was diving on the ground for loose balls. He gets a rebound. He's not looking for a guard. He dribbles up and looks for his teammates. In the first few possessions, he set up R.J. Barrett for 3 wide open threes. He only hit 1, but he set him up for 3 wide open threes.
No doubt. And I respectfully call him a bowling ball because you think about the power you put behind it when you throw it down the lane, you ain't going to get in front of it. And everything else just become pins. People just bouncing off of him.
They really do.
As he go towards the basket. And it's not out of control. It's not wild. It's not undisciplined. It's so very powerful and so very athletic that his combination of height and bulk is something that the game hasn't seen to go with a level of athleticism that's terrific.
He's just like so freakish of a prospect that you find yourself not even focused on R.J. Barrett, who might be a better basketball player, has scored more points than he has, but it's just when you see Zion, it's just like something you've never seen before. Jalen Rose, very quickly. KD, we've been talking about him maybe leaving the Warriors at the end of the year, and a lot of people have been talking about that. There's been rumors. So what did they do? They put KD in a construction outfit. Check him out. Here's KD. What? And they brought him over to the construction site for the brand new arena. Jalen Rose, while he was look at the outfit, by the way. The boots, the socks, everything is best. While he's looking at that arena, do you think he's thinking to himself, this is where I'm going to play basketball next year?
That's a boss move by the team.
Yeah, yep.
No doubt about it. Because a couple of things. You get him in front of the Chase folks, who's a sponsor.
Yep.
You get him in front of the Warriors brash. You put him in the new building, and you sell him on the fact that this could be your home going forward.
And you put reporters there, too. Like Nick Riedel, who works for us, it wasn't a mistake. He didn't just happen to be there that same day.
And all of that is not going to matter when it's time to choose. Because once KD decided to leave Oklahoma City, he let everybody know he was controlling his own destiny. 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs. If he's able to secure 3 and 3, I think he may bounce.
Zion! So we always say we give the people what they want. Jalen really wanted to have my kids in the program, so there you go. You got their television critics, apparently. You got the latest on Odd Squad. I believe Chloe was trying to explain to you about octonauts. I don't know if you know about octonauts. We can discuss that later. It's their scientific underwater marine scientists, and they learn a lot about different species underwater. We can watch that together.
That's why uncles and aunts are important. Because sometimes parents want you to be disciplined and responsible, and when they bring you to work, want you to behave like when you're at a restaurant.
I do. I don't want them tearing around. We were recording the B block for the TV show. I could hear my kids screaming in the office.
That's why as soon as they saw me, they came straight to the desk. I gave them Cheetos. I gave them Doritos.
Yeah, to get that sugar high going.
Yes.
No. Well, I want to thank my kids for being on the show. I'm going to have
and your lovely wife,
my agent, reach out to the ESPN because now that they're officially on air talent, I believe that they deserve some sort of compensation. There are 3 of them, so 3X, whatever you make, Jalen, is what they should be making. And we always say we give the people what they want, so we have to answer at least
eligible
one voicemail. We got to get at least one voicemail out on the show,
shout
or else Reggie
Jacoby
will be upset. Big shout to Joey Jacoby. Reg,
what's up? What's going on, Jalen and Jacoby? First off, I want to shout out Reg and the whole crew. It's Mike Zoe. I'm from Harlem, New York. I just got a question, man. Coming up playing ball in the hood, I was always just, I never understood the whole nuance or the whole idea behind having to call bank when you hit a shot. Like, I hear a lot of commentators say that. Did he call bank? And to me, it never really mattered. It went in. I don't care what it hit, top of the backboard, whatever. hitting bank and going in all net, I feel like that's the same thing. It doesn't matter. As long as the shot goes in, I still cooked you on that one. You know what I'm saying? And I always wanted to ask Jalen, how are you comfortable with getting your hair cut so much and having to put on clothes after that? Because I know after I get a haircut, I gotta wash my hair to get all those loose hairs out of my ears and just off of my collar. It just feels uncomfortable. I gotta take a haircut after every shower, man. Keep getting them checks and keep giving them people what they want.
Big shout out to Mike Zoe. I'll take the first question.
Shout out.
Mike Zoe brings something up that I've thought about a lot. Jalen, I want you to think about this. How many times have you been playing pickup and someone unintentionally scored a bank shot and that bank shot actually factually did not count towards the score? This has happened to me before, but I'll tell you the circumstances under which it happens. Everybody's friends. You're not at a court where you don't know people and there's strangers there. When I'm at a court and we're all friends, we've all played together for a long time, then you can institute this rule that you cannot unintentionally bank a shot in, or you need to call bank to bank it in. But if you are UFO out of town, or you're playing at a court where you don't know everybody, or you only know the people on your team, that's not going to fly.
I'm with you. Shout to Mike Zoe. Appreciate the support.
Shout out.
Jacoby's exactly right. When you have an exclusive run, to make it tougher and just to make it more fun, of course you try to do whatever you can to tighten the rules.
Yes.
And this is one of them, but it got to be amongst friends and family. That's one.
And also including another rule that you should institute, no and ones. If you call a foul and you make the shot, you check it up.
Well, a couple of things. If y'all playing reg ball and calling and ones, I ain't running. Like, I hate that. Like, since I was a youngster, like, I hate that so much.
You hate what?
And ones.
Oh, so you call a foul and you get the bucket.
It's either or.
Yes,
you
exactly.
got to pick.
It's either or.
You got to pick.
Yes, and you can't wait. You can't watch and wait and for the ball to bounce around the rim and then decide you got fouled.
Correct. That's poor etiquette. Now, as it relates to him cooking somebody and feeling like it's the same, whether it's a swish or a bank shot, all buckets aren't created equal.
No.
Just like when you're playing pool, there are times when you call the shot. Mm-hmm. Depending on the competition.
Yeah. Pool doesn't count. You didn't mean to do it? Didn't mean to do it, doesn't count.
Correct. And so the skill level of calling the bank is just showing a level of domination. Yep. Not only am I about to make this 15-footer, this 18-footer, I'm really good on the left side of the hoop as a lefty, shooting that left wing shot as a banker. And I used to get people every time with that. Bank. Bank.
Yep.
Glass is open.
And it sounds cool when you call it. You know what I mean? It adds a little spice
It's a confidence builder. It's a confidence builder. Yes. I didn't shoot a lot of bank shots because as soon as I miss one, I'm off of it.
This guy got mad at me once because when I shot 2 bank shots in a game, I said bored. And I think he thought I meant B-O-R-E-D, like I'm so bored getting these buckets.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what he thought. I was like, I had to explain it. I was like, oh no, I was calling the backboard. I meant backboard.
Well, he should have just hard fouled you and then asked questions later.
Sure. So second question from Mike Zoe from Harlem. How are you comfortable getting so many haircuts and putting clothes on? And how do you not deal with the itchy, loose little cut hairs all up on your shoulders and neck area?
So it works more simple for me in my lifestyle than it does people who need to get a cut and actually function. When you see me, and this is pod exclusive, I'm pulling you guys behind the curtain, okay? This is one of my trade secrets, okay? This is like me telling you how I study for my job, okay? Most people, when they get a cut, they need that cut to last them all day. I just really need my cut to last me while I'm on TV.
Yes, I got
That's
4
way
hours.
different.
Sure.
That's way different. So what I'm able to do, I'm able to cheat it. When I sit in the chair, I'm already wearing a shirt if it needs to come over my head. Once I get a cut, I ain't pulling nothing over my head.
I mean, this is one of the more insane things that you have.
I always wear zip-ups.
But here's the question is,
always
do
wear
you
button-ups.
have those little itchy hairs on your shoulder all day then if you don't change the shirt afterwards?
Itchy hairs on your shoulder, that's a reflection of you having really long hair.
And poor preparation from your barber.
Or your barber not grooming you properly.
Yeah. I feel like if they put the napkin down and they tighten up that thing around your neck tight enough and they brush it off afterwards, you shouldn't really have too much of a problem. One thing I'm not afraid to do, go to the barber, take off my sweatshirt, wear an undershirt, get my hair cut with an undershirt on. because I don't care about pulling stuff over my head. I don't have curly hair. It doesn't change if I put stuff over my head. But I get as naked as possible before the barber gives me a haircut, just so I don't have it all over my clothes.
I'm just trying to get a cut for an event, which I get it before I go, and or for TV.
And or for Countdown or Get Up. Okay,
that's right.
You don't get your haircut.
TV.
You don't get your haircut for this show. Nope. We saw you last week with the hat backwards. We saw you last week with the goatee creeping out towards your ears.
The afro.
Yeah. The mustache connected to your nose. I love that, Jalen. Thanks so much. It feels so good to have you back in the studio. We'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, KRS?
We're not done. We're not done. Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
They my little guys. I love them.
Speaking of the Hobbits, let's talk about LeBron James for us.
Zion.
From our whiskey to our music. In New Orleans, every note matters. That's why every sip of Southern Comfort dances to the same vibe as our birthplace. It can be strong and smooth all at once. And no matter what, it's always authentic. So go ahead, take a big sip. Southern Comfort, the spirit of New Orleans. Discover more at SouthernComfort.com.